Lists are one of the most important data types in Python, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about lists as a Python beginner. Welcome! I'm Kont, I got a master's degree in computer science and currently work as a graduate research assistant, and I'm here to help you to learn computer science with Python. Python lists are a sequential data type where you can store several values in an ordered manner, such as string. However, lists can not only store characters such as strings, lists can store any data type. And you can even mix different data types in a list. To declare a list in Python, we first enter a variable name, an equal sign, and then use brackets. And all the values stored within a list are inside this bracket, separated with a comma. And now our first value is true, then our second value is 42, then we have 0.23, and lastly we have hello as a string. We press enter and that defined our list, and we can even have a look at that list and we can see we have the value true, 42.23 and hello. Every element in a Python list has an index. The index is a number that points to the position of that element in that list. And lists start with the index 0. And we can access one element of our list with the bracket operator, which we are going to state directly after variable name, and then enter the index. If we enter L bracket 0, we get the first element of our list, which is true. To get the second element, we can enter 1, which returns 42, which is our second element in our list, and so on. If we enter 2, we get the third element, and to get the last element of our list, we're going to enter 3. We can also access the last element of our list with the len function. The len function returns the length of a list. So if we enter len parentheses L, we get the length of our list, and our list is 4 elements long. So if we want to access hello in our list, we enter L bracket len L parentheses -1, because we start at the index 0 and the last index is 3 when our list is 4 elements long. When we enter that, we get hello once again. However, there's also a shortcut in Python where we don't have to use the len function to get the last element of our list. And that is when we use the bracket operator and enter -1. -1 will always return the last element of our list. And we can even get the second last element by entering -2, or the third last element by entering -3, and so on. The bracket operator can not just return a single element from a list, but also a range of elements from a list, which is then a sublist of the list. And this is called list slicing. To have a closer look at list slicing, let's define a list I, where each element value corresponds to its index. So here we have the list I going from 0 to 15. And to check that we actually have 16 values from 0 to 15, let's use len and print out the length, and the length is 16. And to further check that each value corresponds to its index, let's use the bracket operator once again. Let's enter a 5, and that will return 5 as a value, because 5 is at the 5th index of I. Now we can select a sublist of I by using list slicing with the bracket operator. For that we use I once again, open with a opening bracket, and then we would like to select the values 4 to 9. For that we enter a 4, then a colon, and then a 10. Press enter and that will return a sublist going from 4 to 9. The first index in our bracket operator is the index we would like to start from. And the second index is the index until we would like to get values from. So if we want to get the until index 9, we have to enter a 10, because the 10 is not included in our sublist. If we want to access all the elements starting from 4 until the end of a list, we can use the bracket operator and list slicing once again. We enter a 4 colon and then no second index and a closing bracket and press on enter. And this gives us the list starting from 4 going until the last element. And we can also retrieve a sublist starting from the first element up to a certain index. For that we enter I bracket operator colon, no first index, and then the index until we would like to fetch data, and here it is index 4. So this will return the sublist going from the index 0 until the index 3. But list slicing can do even more for you. Imagine you would like to have a sublist that only includes every second element of your list. So enter the variable name I, then the starting index, the stopping index, and then the step width. This will return a sublist starting from index 4 until the index 10, where only every second element from the list is returned. And you can also supply this stepwise selection to a whole list. For that, you enter I, : and then the step width, and this will return the whole list and then every third, second, or nth element you have entered. So this is our list I with 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, which is every third element. I prepared a Python list cheat sheet as a free PNG, which includes all the things I'm going to tell you in this video, and you can find that PNG in my Gumroad shop, for which you can find the link down below in the description. You can even get a printable PDF poster version of the cheat sheet for €5 in my Gumroad shop or as a tier 1 Patreon subscriber. You can also fill your Python list with variables, and for that I prepared 3 variables, A, B, and C. And if we define a list, L equals bracket A, B, and C, and check that list, the list will now contain the values that have been contained in the variable. However, the list does not contain the variable itself. So if we enter A equals 43 and then print out the list, A is still 12. So the list copies the values from those primitive data types and stores them as a list element. A list can also contain other lists. For that I prepared the list M and N, and then I'm going to create the list L containing M and N, and when we check what's in that list, we see that the list actually contains 2 lists. But how do we access the elements in those lists? First, we would like to access the first list, so we use the bracket operator with a 0, because the first list M is at index 0, and that will return the first list. And now we can stack the bracket operator to access an element in the first list. If we want to access the 4, we just add another bracket operator after first bracket operator, press enter, and that will access at index 0 the first list, and at index 1 the second element in the first list. The bracket operator also allows us to use variables as an argument for the index. So if we use the bracket operator on this list, which goes from 0 to 15, and have the variables a, b, c, and enter a : b : c : bracket, we can see we get every element starting from index 2 up until index 10, and from that every third one. And when we enter that in our bracket operator a : b : b : c, we can see we get that sublist. We can not only use the bracket operator to access elements, we can also use it to change elements in a list. For that I prepared the list L, which contains the 3 strings hello, world, and question mark. And if I would like to change one of those, I use L, then the bracket operator, enter the index I would like to change. I would like to change the last index, so I use -1. And I would like to change that to an exclamation mark. And if we now have a look at L, we can see it's now hello world exclamation mark. And if you like this video so far, make sure to give it a like so it can spread to more people and more people can start learning about Python lists. We can also use list slicing to replace a whole range of elements in a list. For that I have the list I again, which goes from 0 to 15, and we use this list slicing operator from 1 to 7, and we would like to replace every second element with the sublist 10, 30, and 50. We press enter now and look at our list I. We see that the 1 was replaced with 10, as we have stated here. Then the next element is 3 because we have a step width of 2. This was replaced with 30, and the last element was the 5, which was replaced with 50. But you have to make sure that the list you are going to enter here is the same length as the list you're going to access with the list slicing. Otherwise you run into an error. So if I use a list that is 4 elements long and enter 70, you can see we get a value error. Python lists are a mutable data type. That means you can change the values that have been stored in the list, and you can add or remove elements after the list was declared. This is in stark contrast to immutable data types, for which you can find the video up here about Python tuples, which are immutable. Now that we know what a mutable data type is, let's have a closer look at the functions that Python provides to manipulate a list. The first function I would like to introduce is append. So I defined the list L, A, B, C, and now I would like to add another value to it. So I enter L, and then every manipulation function of a list starts with adding a dot after the variable name. Then we state the function's name, and this here is append, and we would like to append the value d to the end of our list. So we enter L append d, and when we have a look at L again, we can see our list now consists of A, B, C, and D. So the append function appends a single value to the end of a list. If you want to append several values to the end of your list, use the extend function instead. So L.extend, and then I'm going to enter another list, this time holding the values E and F inside the parentheses, brackets, and then the list, and we press enter. And if we now have a look at our list, the list is now consisting of A, B, C, D, E, and F, which I've just added to the list. Python lists even support the plus operator, so we can extend our list using a plus. So we enter L equals L plus another list containing G and H, and then when we have a look at L, now the elements G and H have been added to the end of L because we use L, then we add the list G and H to L and assign this new list to our variable L. And now the list contains of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. With the functions append, extend, and plus, you can add elements to the end or the front of a list. But what if you would like to add an element at a specific index? For that, you can use the insert function. So we use L.insert, then we state the index we would like to insert our new element, and I would like to insert it at the index 1, which is the second element. And then I state the element I would like to append and press enter. And now at our second index we can find the new element, which is Z, and every element coming after that Z is now shifted one index to the right. We can also remove elements from our list, and for that we are going to use the remove function. So L.remove, and then we enter the element we would like to remove, and here I would like to remove the Z, and this has removed the Z from the index 1, and now we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G as a list, and every element that was after the Z is now shifted one index to the front. If we got several elements with the same value in our list, the remove function will remove the first occurrence when it goes from the left to the right, so from the index 0 up to the last index. For a little example, let's define our list A and Z, Z and B, and then we use remove Z, and this will only remove the first Z. And if we use remove a second time, we can see it removes the second Z from our list. If we try to remove Z and Z isn't in our list, we can see we get a value error. We can also remove every value from our list and get an empty list, and for that we use L.clear without any arguments, and we enter that and then have a look at L. L now doesn't include any elements. We can also find out at what index what value is, and for that we can use the index function. So here I have a list A, Z, Z, A, B, C, and I would like to know at what index is B. For that I enter L index B, and that will return 3, and when we enter 3 in our bracket operator we can see it returns B. But if I enter Z in our index function, you can see I only get 1, because the index function only returns one value, and it will return the index of the first occurrence going from the left to the right in the list. So we won't find the second Z for it. If we would like to remove an element at a certain index of our list, we can use the pop function. If we would like to remove the first element of our list here, we're going to use L pop parentheses and then enter the index of A, and pop will also return the value you have just removed from the list. This is important for a different kind of data structure, which I'm going to tell you in a future video about, which you can find up here. If we have a look at L, now A is not present anymore. And every element that is now shifted to the front because we removed the first element. We can also remove an element from an arbitrary index. So let's remove the element from the index 2, which is D, and is D removed. And we can also use pop without any argument. So L pop and empty parentheses, and this will remove the last element from a list. So with this, we can successively remove elements from our list at a certain index. You don't have to implement your own sorting algorithm in Python to sort a list. Python already comes with a sort function for lists, and you can call it by entering the variable name for the list and then enter sort, and this will sort our list L alphanumerically. So A comes for B and so on. But you can also change the sorting algorithm that it uses a different key for sorting. So if we would like to sort every element by its string length, we can use sort and then enter key equals len, and this will sort the list by the length of our elements. So now the first element is C, B, D, F, and then come the larger elements which include 2 or more characters. You can also reverse sort a list with the sort function with entering L sort reverse equals true. And then we have a look at our list and it starts with F. And you can even combine the key and the sorting direction by using a comma between those two, and we enter reverse true and key equals len. And now our list is sorted in reverse by the length of the element. If you just want to reverse your list, you can use the reverse function. For that, enter the variable name reverse and then press enter, and if we have a look at our list, every element changed its position, so A went to the last index and F went to the first one, and so on. So we have a completely reversed list here. All the functions you have just seen were for manipulating a list. That means adding an element, removing an element, or changing the order of elements. But Python also has functions built in that tell you about certain properties of a list. The first one we have already seen is len, and when we use len, we can see it tells us the length of a list. The next function is count, which tells you how often an element is included in a list. So if we use l.count and enter a, we can see it returns a 2 because the a is included 2 times in our list. If we use b, it will give us a 1 because b is 1 time in our list, and if we use z, we can see we get a 0 because z is not part of our list. To find the maximum and minimum value of a list, we can use the min and max function. So here I would like to get the maximum value of my list, L, and that will return C, because in the alphanumerical order, C is the element with the highest key. We can also get the minimum element by using min, and this will return A because A is the minimum element. We can also change the key by which our elements are sorted, and then the max and min element is selected. For that we enter min L, key len, and that will return the value with the minimum length. And if we use max, we get the value with the maximum length in our list, which is AA, because that includes 2 characters and all the other values only include 1. Min and max, of course, also works on lists that include numbers. So if we have a list with integers, the list I here, and use max I, we get 4 because 4 is the highest element. And if we use min I, we get the lowest element, which is 1. When you got a list and you want to assign it to a new variable, you can use the equal sign. So I got my list L, and I would like to assign L to M. But I could also copy the list, and I'm going to use the copy operation here, and that will copy the list into N. So what is the difference between the equal assignment and the copy assignment? If we have a look at L, it includes ABC, and if we have a look at M and N, they also contain ABC. If we now change the first value in our list L, which is A, to Z, and we have a look, now we have the list set BC, and then have a look at M, M also has Z as its first element. But if we have a look at N, we can see N still has A. And that is the case that L and M are pointing to the same list. So if I change something in L, it will also be reflected in M and the other way around. So if I change something in M, it will also happen in L. If I use copy, it will copy all the elements in the list and create a new list and store that in N. So keep that in mind when working in lists with lists and you assign lists to different variables, if you want to copy them or if you just want to reference them. Copying lists concludes this video. I hope it was helpful for you, and don't forget that you can get your free cheat sheet on my Gumroad shop, for which you can find the link down below in the description. If you got any questions on this video, let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release a new video. If you want to catch up with me, join our lovely Discord community. Big shout out to my Patreon subscribers for their support, and if you want to learn about the immutable data type tuple in Python, check out this video over here. I wish you a fantastic day and hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. Bye bye!